What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Patriots Press podcast, where we cover the Somerset Patriots and all aspects of the Yankees minor leagues. I'm Greg Johnson, joined today again by Matt Cardos. Mike Ashmore's still away, so it's just the two of us. But thought we'd come to you guys today with a All-Star break edition of the podcast while Somerset is away for a few days, just like everyone else in baseball. We have a lot to talk about because Matt and I were both in Somerset on Sunday when the Patriots hosted New Hampshire for their series finale. The last game of not the last game of the first half. They already started the second half, but the last game before the All-Star break.
Sure.
It's a big day in Somerset for a number of reasons. First off, Matt, I wanted to get your thoughts on the team hosting Thomas Ian Nicholas. Because they had him there as the star of Rookie of the Year, the movie from 1993. I actually watched that movie for the first time the night before, so I was glad I did that because you and I both had a chance to meet him and get our pictures with him, and that was cool. But I know I wasn't geeking out quite as much as you because there's so many baseball movies out there. Like I feel like more than any other sport, there are baseball movies, and I always think of stuff like Field of Dreams and Sandlot, Bull Durham, and I know you're a big Rookie of the Year guys, so I want to get your thoughts on just what that was like for you that day.
Yeah, you told me that on Sunday. I was shocked that you had never seen it prior to the night before. It was just always around, and it's not like the greatest movie of all time. I wouldn't even say it's one of the best baseball movies or anything like that. Like I like The Sandlot infinitely better. But it's just always, there's something that's always resonated. I think the lines are just memorable. Like the comedy in the movie, I think is just as funny as the baseball content and stuff. And he's obviously a memorable character. And it's just always been part of me. I think it came out in 93. So at that point I was like 3 or 4 years old, and I'm 36. So I mean, for a good 30 something years of my life, I've carried around these lines and memories of this movie growing up as a 5, 6, 7-year-old with the kids in my neighborhood watching it during the summer breaks and having sleepovers and watching it. And so it's just kind of always been that timeless thing. And so to walk down on the field where I normally talk to Spencer Jones and George Lombard, and here I am standing shoulder to shoulder with Henry Rowengartner was a pretty wild and surreal experience. And I'm grateful to Mark, the Somerset media relations guy, for hooking that up for us to get us on the field and get us a chance to meet him. It's been something I've kind of had marked on my calendar since I saw he was going to be there early in the season. And I think the one cool thing about it too is that when obviously after the pregame stuff and throwing out the first pitch, he was on the concourse all the way through the 7th inning, signing autographs and taking pictures for fans. And I think the one cool part is, like I said, I'm in my mid 30s. I'm closer to 40 at this point than I am 30. And how many young kids were in line to meet him, which just kind of shows me that the movie has spanned multiple generations and has kind of made it on to now this next generation of 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds that have found the movie just like I did when I was that age. So I thought that was really cool to see kids going up there and being kind of geeked out and starstruck by seeing him. There was a group that I saw in line to meet him that had Henry Rowengartner like jersey, like t-shirt jerseys on, and each one of them in the group had a different name on the back of all the wrong pronunciations that the manager Sal Martinello would say. So one like said Gardenhoser, one said Rosenbagger, one said Runamucker, and they had like a group of 4 or 5 people. Each one had a different name on the back. I thought that was pretty genius. I think they all posed and took like a group picture with him. I thought that was a really good kind of get. But yeah, absolutely awesome day at the ballpark on Sunday. You obviously had the Spencer Jones bobblehead, which came out fantastic. You had a lot of people out there for that. And obviously the on the field product didn't suck as well.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I always find so interesting and just neat with Somerset is that the stars always seem to align, where they have these great promotions, and then they'll also have like a rehab or something on the same day, where it just makes for an awesome day for the fans. And as it turned out, they were doing this promotion for the movie Rookie of the Year, and then you have the reigning American League Rookie of the Year, Luis Heel from the Yankees, rehabbing at the game. He started his rehab assignment from a lat strain. Like I said, he won the American League Rookie of the Year last year, so that was a big deal for them to kind of promote that and push out. They actually put out a photo of Heel and Thomas E. Nicholas on social media and with a caption, identifying that the two Rookie of the Years got to meet each other. So that was neat.
And that was completely like luck and happenstance. Like Somerset didn't script that. That was just Thomas Nicholas came out for the first time from the tunnel to like check out the field.
Yeah.
And 30 seconds later, Luis Heel was coming out to do his pregame warmups, and they literally were right next to each other. And for the Somerset content gods, the stars aligned, and it made for like a viral Twitter post and went all over social media with the two Rookies of the Year. So it couldn't have played out any better timing wise for the Somerset media team.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize that was the case until Mark said something to us in the press box about it. I'm like, oh, I'm glad you guys noticed that, because that, that's a really good thing to put out there and promote.
Because we knew both of them were like, we knew well in advance Thomas Ian Nicholas was going to be there, and we knew a couple days before Luis Heel was going to be there, and it never dawned on me, or never, like, the parallels never crossed my mind at any point until they brought it up, and I'm like, oh, you got something here.
Yeah. So what did you think of Heel on Sunday? I mean, he started his rehab assignment. He went 3 1/3, 6 strikeouts. I had 11 swing and misses, 50 pitches, 36 strikes, just 1 walk. Gave up 2 hits, a double, and a home run. I think we both commented that the double he gave up was a little bit of a jam shot down the right field line. And then the home run was no 2 slider that he just hung, really just that one mistake. He, he started the outing with 5 straight balls, and then he got going after that. We talked to Rafael Flores afterward, the catcher, and he said that he thinks he was just kind of adjusting to the mound, actually, in the beginning of the game. And then once he settled in, I mean, his stuff looked really good, I thought. Yeah, I mean, his velo was there. He was hitting like 94, 96 with the fastball for the most part, topped out at 97. The slider was like 84, 86, 91, 92 with the changeup. I mean, his 3-pitch mix looks sharp with good velo, I thought, for a guy who hasn't pitched this year yet. And, I think he was shut down back in March, and looks like he's going to need at least 3, if not more, maybe 3 or 4 rehabs before he goes back. But for the first one, I mean, this looked like vintage Heel to me.
Yeah, I think that's as good as you could have hoped for if you're the Yankees, for a guy that, like you said, hasn't faced live pitching in game action since March. He looked electric. The ball was coming out free and easy. Just kind of looked effortless. There was no loss in his delivery or mechanics. Everything was repeatable. Like you said, the velo was where you wanted. Got up as high as, I think you said, 97. We saw on the stadium gun, and I think that's pretty locked in this year in terms of accuracy. It's right around where it should be. So 97 is as good as you could, I think, hope in the first one out there. I think he was ticketed to throw 50 pitches, and he got taken out exactly at the 50 pitch mark, actually mid batter, which you don't always see. Sometimes they kind of push you and let you get through that last guy, but he started the inning, got to the 50 pitch mark. I think he was in a 1-2 count, if I remember correctly, and they pulled him mid count, mid batter, right when he got to the 50. So I think next time out, you'd want to increase that by at least 5 to 10 or something like that. I feel the Yankees tend to go anywhere in that mark. If you want to break even, maybe we'll call it 7 or 8. He might go up next time. So I think closer to 60 maybe next time out, and hopefully closer to 70 the time after that. So I think he's got at least 2 more, potentially 3. Where that's going to be, I'm not sure. I'd imagine you'll see him somewhere this weekend. We were talking earlier, I think Scranton is on the road this weekend. Somerset's on the road, but they are in Hartford, which logistically is not that far from Somerset. And it's become pretty common for the Yankees to send rehabs on the road in Hartford. We have seen it pretty much every year that there's been an affiliation. We see at least one Somerset rehab go up to Hartford. It's become a tradition unlike any other. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw him up there this weekend. If that's the case, not, like I said, no knowledge or not really sure where but I would imagine you'll see him at one of the affiliates this weekend for the second rehab start. But overall impressions looked really good. I think as good as you could hope he'd look in the first one.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be lined up to go again this weekend. We're recording this Thursday night. I mean, he probably would go Friday, if not Saturday. Very well could be with Somerset and Hartford. Scranton, the AAA team, is also on the road. They may just keep him in Somerset, but as of now, he's still on the Somerset roster. But yeah, we don't know for sure where he's going to be. They haven't revealed the weekend pitching plans yet. But yeah, I mean, I think Boone had told the media, Aaron Boone, the Yankees manager, that he's going to build up to either 75 or 90 before they activate him. I mean, all along they've kind of said, that this is going to be a conservative rehab. So I think he's going to go, like I said, at least 3, probably even a 4th rehab, get him close to 90 pitches, then bring him back at some point in August, unless they just really feel like they, need the help in the rotation sooner based on how, guys are doing. I mean, obviously, like we talked about last time, Cam Schlittler went up and he had a solid debut, but, we'll see how things go. If looks like he's going to get another return through the rotation.
Yeah.
And
if he's not built up at this juncture of the season, he's not doing the team any good, because you don't want to burn the bullpen out. If he's going to go up there and he can't get past the third or fourth inning or just barely getting out of the fifth, then you're dipping into your bullpen every fifth day. And at this juncture of the season, when innings are at a premium and you need your starters to go a little bit deeper than you do in April and May, I'm sure the Yankees don't want to kind of have to be using the Scranton shuttle and shuffling relievers in and out because they burnt a guy out on the back end of a heel start. So that's a good point, Greg. I think they'd probably want to get him closer to that 90 mark to kind of get some length out of him as he comes back.
Yeah. I guess one other note we should make too is that Yerry De Los Santos, Yankees reliever, did throw a live BP, I believe, in Somerset on Saturday, so he might rehab too at some point. We don't know exactly the plan there.
Yeah.
That was something Raul Dominguez told us the other day, which we'll get a little more into that later because we did have an extensive conversation with Raul. But just to top off the conversation about Sunday, that because what ends up happening, what's funny sometimes is not funny, but just interesting, is that when a guy has to rehab, that often means that the guy who was supposed to pitch that day gets bumped to a piggyback situation where he comes in afterward. And because Heel only needed to throw 50 pitches that day, that allowed a guy like Carlos Lagrange to come in. I think they had one reliever briefly after Heel. I don't remember who it was now. But then Lagrange came in for 5, I believe it was 5 hitless innings afterward.
Sure.
Was able to get, so I mean, he basically still got a start in. He got his work in. And yeah, I mean, Carlos Lagrange is a guy who is starting to really settle in Double-A now. I think he's what is he? The Yankees' 17th ranked prospect, I guess, right now by MLB Pipeline. He came up in I guess it was early June with the team, and yeah, I mean, he's a heck of a prospect because he's 6'7", 195, lanky guy who's 22 years old and routinely throws triple digits with his fastball. And he's also got gyro slider, sweeper, changeup. I know from talking to Flores, the catcher, I mean, the changeup is the pitch he's worked on that's really deadly against lefties. And the sweeper is kind of his main secondary pitch that is really, really good. And what Flores was saying the other day too is that, when he's able to pair that sweeper with the 100-mile-an-hour slider, I mean, it's 100-mile-an-hour fastball. I mean, that's big league stuff. The key with Carlos has been just repeating his delivery. When guys are that tall, they often have, naturally a guy has more moving parts, right? When they're a taller pitcher, and him being as lanky as he is, he's talked about, it was a night, I don't think you were there, but when we spoke to him after one of his starts in mid-June, and he talked about how he's just worked really hard on his mechanics, and just because when his mechanics are on point, everything else falls into line. I mean, I had the exact quote here of something he said: keep working on my mechanics. Whenever my mechanics are in a good place, my stuff is there, command is there, regardless of if they hit the ball or not. That's not important. What is important is to keep the ball in the strike zone and can control what I can control. And I think that's just a guy who's very confident in, like, when he does what he has to do and is able to repeat his delivery and has good mechanics and isn't walking guys. He has stuff that is going to play really well. And, he's just, he's been very up and down since he got to Double-A. At this point, he's got a 3.79 ERA in 6 outings, but he's really picked it up the last few games here because when he got to Double-A, his first 4 outings, he had 14 walks, and the last 3 outings here, he's gone 16 and a third with he's allowed only 3 hits, 2 runs, and 1 walk.
Yeah.
With 25 strikeouts in those 16 and a third innings. I mean, he's just started to really deal. And like I said, on Sunday, he threw 5 hitless innings in relief to finish off the game there. So what'd you think?
Yeah, I thought Sunday's piggyback outing was one of the best outings I've seen any pitcher in Somerset have in the 4 years of the affiliation now. He was locked in. He was electric. Like you said, the most important thing with him is going to be the mechanics and the delivery. It was super repeatable. He was just in the zone, man. And like you said, when he first came up, it was almost like a every other type situation. One outing would be good. The next one would be a little bit suspect. He would bounce back. The next one would be a little bit suspect. And now it seems like he's kind of finding his footing since that outing, I think on June 25th, when he walked 7 guys and allowed those 11 stolen bases and gave up 4 runs and I think it was 3 1/3 innings or something to that effect. In the last 3 starts total, he's, like you said, he's only allowed 2 earned runs and 25 strikeouts, and he's really limiting the base runners. But when they are getting on, he's kind of holding the running game in check, which is going to be super vital for him as he continues to move. And the mechanics, he needs to repeat his delivery over and over and over. And it seems like he's finding that groove. It's becoming a consistent thing for him where the control is getting a lot better, and he's not really put in a situation. I think when we talked to Raul about it the other day, he joked and he asked Raul what he could do to improve, and he said, well, these guys can't steal 11 bases on you if you don't let anybody on base. And impression's been of Lagrange. He's been up here for now, I think, 6 starts and kind of uneven. One good, one bad, back to back to back. Obviously, he's a guy learning on the fly, making adjustments, working on command, working on the slide step to hold runners. Just what have your impressions been of just the stuff and how he continues to try to improve command-wise?
Big impression. I mean, the tool that he has, he got a really, really good gift, and he got the potential to be a big league pitcher. But it's a big body, the young mindset. I mean, he's learning a lot. I know he's been working really hard with Pete in the bullpen. Sometimes I try to be there, trying to translate so that way he can get full information. All Carlos says, but the video guy, he's trying to be there just to help him. And as a manager, I always try to, I mean, he has a lot of questions. I try to, as a manager, trying to give a lot of advice. Like, we're doing this, when you're doing that. I mean, try to watch his body language and everything. And I mean, it's good to see him frustrated when he walk a lot of people. I mean, I say, yeah, this is good, but I mean, you need to learn between innings how to turn the page. Like, okay, this inning's over, I'm gonna get the next inning. And I mean, if he can dominate that part of the game, that mental part of the game, I think it's gonna be really good.
He had to start a couple times out. I think when he was on the mound, you guys allowed like 12 or 13 stolen bases. What can a pitcher do, or Carlos individually, what can he do to maybe control the running game a little bit better with how?
Yeah, after that one, I think how many stolen bases? 1 or 2. No, after that one, after the 11, 1 or 2.
Yes.
It's just because right after that game, he asked me, like, man, Raul, sorry, like, I know I walk a lot of guys that were stealing and everything. Is there something that I can do? Yeah. I mean, watch the games, and then we talk tomorrow. We watch some video. We went 2 days after he got a mound work, and we were doing some movement, holding runners. We were talking, showing some videos, and we were doing some quick steps, slide step, how to make some different looks and everything. And And after that, I mean, he's been getting way better times. Yeah, from 1.7 to 1.2, 1.3, and now he's stopping runners.
He
Right.
kind of took it to heart, and he's obviously worked on the slide step to control the run game, and we'll get into that a little bit. But yeah, it's just a progression, which you want to see from a kid who's only 22, seeing Double A for the first time. The power arm, the velo is there. He's got 113 strikeouts in under 80 innings. I think it's 77 innings this year. So, I mean, the strikeout numbers are there. The radar gun's there. Now it's the finer things, the details that you want to see him really hone on. And it seems like now his last three starts after the initial three starts are a lot better, a lot more positive that he can build off of. And it seems like he's really turned the corner and trending in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, since his second Double-A start, where he allowed 11 stolen bases on June 12th, his last 5 outings, he's allowed only 1 stolen base. Remarkable turnaround. Flores actually threw a guy out stealing on Sunday. And when I say, I mean, it's him and Flores both working together. It's not like it's just on Carlos or just on Flores to not allow stolen bases. But yeah, the big thing is with him after that outing was we talked to Raul Dominguez, the Somerset manager, on Saturday, and he said that it wasn't even something that the coaches went to him and told him he needed to fix something. Like, Carlos literally came in after that game to Raul and apologized and said, "I'm so sorry. I know I walked a lot of guys. Guys are running all over on me. What can I do?" And they looked at some video. He did some mound work a couple days later. And they just worked on some different movements with holding runners on, whether it's just different quick steps in his delivery, slide steps, basically just a slide step, meaning like a technique where he's just trying to minimize his leg kick so that he can kind of quickly slide to home, towards home plate and reduce the amount of time it takes for the ball to get to the catcher, make it more difficult for runners to steal.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest thing that, Raphael's talking about too with that is that it's all about mixing things up, right? Because even if you have a slide step, if you're doing that same step over and over, then runners can kind of also time it up better because they know exactly what you're doing. You want to mix it up and really, what you're doing with your moves to get to home plate a little bit, because that makes it just harder for guys to run on you because you're more unpredictable. But yeah, certainly when he's going quicker to home plate with guys on, that really helps. And it just shows a lot about a guy who's 22 years old and that he is a guy who really wants to learn and get better and feels terribly when he has things like that happen to him. I mean, this is a guy who's got a chance to be just such a revelation for the Yankees in the sense that, I mean, they signed him for like $10,000 out of the Dominican Republic when he was 18 years old. And he's, as I was saying before, I mean, he's really got the stuff to be a dominant pitcher. I think the question going forward is going to be whether he really can be a big league starter or a reliever, because obviously when you throw 100, that's going to play really well out of the bullpen, and
Sure.
you don't need to be able to repeat your delivery as much. You don't, because the length is not the same coming out of the bullpen with the amount of outs you're getting and just the consistency and all that. But the Yankees want to give him every opportunity to be a starter. I mean, obviously being a starter is where, the money is to be made for these guys, and it's just more valuable if he can be able to repeat that delivery with that stuff and give you 6 innings as opposed to 1 or 2. But yeah, he's just a very, very interesting prospect. A guy who's young, still only 22. He's got plenty of time to develop here in the minors, and I think he's really the only guy I think in the Yankees minor leagues, if I'm not mistaken, who's consistently throwing 100. I mean, Cam Schlitter now obviously is pretty much hitting 100, but yeah, this guy's got just electric stuff.
Yeah. And like you said, I think the Yankees are going to give him every opportunity given his age and level of, development. He's still relatively raw considering where he can go. But I think a safe floor, if it doesn't work out as a starter, is a closer. That stuff plays, the velo plays, the pitch mix plays. And when you have issues with maybe repeating your delivery, if that stays an issue long term and he can't really figure that out, I think that's a pretty good floor to have, or as a kind of like a bailout situation. If it doesn't play out, you've got a electric guy that you could throw in the back end of the bullpen that is at a premium. You know, everyone's looking for that around the league. Hell, the Yankees are looking for that right now. The Yankees would love another arm like that that's developed at the back end right now. So,
Yeah.
yeah, he's going to get every opportunity to start. And I mean, all things considering, he's doing well. He's seems like he's learning. He wants to learn. He wants to get better. As a 22-year-old in Double A for the first time, I think that's all you could ask for. You want him to be a sponge. You want him to ask questions, and it seems like he's asking all the right questions and making all the right adjustments.
Yeah.
And continuing to improve as he goes on here each step of the way. So it'll be an interesting last 2 months for him to see how he finishes the year, heading into a big offseason for him going into 26.
Yeah, I mean, he even admitted after his the start we talked to him a few weeks ago that he's he's tried to do a little bit too much at times. Like I think when he came up to Double A from High A, he was a little bit amped up, and he thinks that's why he was walking guys a little bit too much. Just kind of overthrowing a little bit, a little bit nervous at a higher level, just doing a little bit too much. And he's kind of, Flores said the other day that he's just a guy going out there now with a lot of confidence. Looks like a guy who's just with a high amount of belief in his stuff when he's out on the mound. He's more settled in. He still has to tone him down at times because he's a gamer who can get a little bit too amped up. But he's really settled down here with not walking guys much the last few outings compared to when he first got here. And like we said, I mean, when he's able to just simply not walk batters and throw strikes, he tends to get very good results because when you're throwing 100, it's that's going to be tough to hit unless you're throwing it right down the middle. But
and I give him credit too. I think that night that you and I believe Mike talked to him, he didn't have a particularly great outing that night after you talked to him. And I give guys in that position, I think at that point he probably only had 2 starts or 3 starts under his belt, and he didn't have his best night out there. And he, it's part of the job eventually too when you get to New York is answering the bell, answering the call, and you got to be at your locker room and take accountability for when you don't have the best days. And I gave him a lot of credit when I watched back at that video. He was honest and he answered all the questions and he spent the time to answer them. And you like to see that too for a guy so young to just kind of hold himself to a standard of accountability and face we don't have the biggest media contingent in Somerset. It's not like you're talking to 20 reporters, but I think it's a good step in a development. You're doing your on-field development, but I think it is a good step when you do talk to media daily that it kind of preps you for the future. So when you do have a bad outing or you don't have your best day out there, when you face the cameras and go in front of the reporters and own up to a bad outing and let everybody know what it is that went wrong and what you're working on and are able to identify those shortcomings. I give young prospects a lot of credit for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, he had 7 walks in that game after we talked to him. He's had 6 total in the next 3 starts since then. Yeah, for people who aren't aware, so like when we're in Somerset, we're often writing more feature stories and game stories. So we'll talk to guys usually before games and sometimes after a game if a guy has a standout game and we want to really talk to him about it. But this was like a kind of a pre-planned thing where we hadn't gotten him yet since he came up from High A. And I mean, he could have easily just after that outing been like, look, I had a really tough night. I'd rather just not do it tonight. And he came out there and did it with a transit. I'm trying to remember I don't know why I always forget his name.
The defensive coach, right?
Yes, the defensive coach, Uziel Valoria. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but he's always been very accommodating. He's the main guy that helps us out with the Spanish-speaking players, giving us translation on the questions and then the answers. So we talked to him after that outing, and which is something that, again, guys are not asked to do much in the minor leagues after a tough game. But I think it does prep these guys for the majors because they're going to be dealing with a lot more press and scrutiny when they get up there. So but yeah, I mean, so Carlos was obviously a big topic when we talked to Raul Dominguez last Thursday, July 10th. And I wanted to go more into that conversation because we talked to, it was us two and the two Somerset broadcasters were there throwing in a few questions. And we had an 18-minute press conference with Raul, which to my knowledge is the longest we've ever done in a group session. We had a lot to catch up on because the manager too is somebody we don't talk to every game or even necessarily every series, but we like to catch up with him periodically just to, get some info on what's going on with certain guys on the roster, injured guys. Are they coming back soon? What do you think about this guy getting moved up or down? Whatever. So, yeah, I mean, there was a lot we talked to Raul about. A little background too about Raul. I mean, he's a guy that's been in the Yankees org really since 2001. I mean, he signed there as a player, was in the minor leagues for 4 years, came back as a scout in 07, and pretty much since then has been a coach in the system throughout the minor leagues. We've known him really going back to when he was the defensive coach for the Trenton Thunder back in 2018 and 19. He's now in his third year as a Somerset AA manager. I think the first time the Yankees have had a AA manager, the same guy 3 years in a row since Tony Franklin with the Thunder back in 20.
I think 2014, I think, was his last year, because I think the first new manager after Tony was, I think, Al Pedrique, which was the 2015 team. So, yeah, I think Tony's last year in Trenton was 2014, if I remember that correctly.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so we talked to him about a range of topics. We first kind of went into, I asked him a little bit about Cam Schlittler making his debut with the Yankees. And he mentioned how it's funny how the night before, the previous night was when Schlittler made his debut, and the Somerset was playing a game at the same time, but they had a rain delay during their game. So all the guys in the dugout were actually kind of huddled around an iPad, I guess it was, and were watching him pitch. And yeah, he's just ecstatic for him because, I mean, he's a manager who just, this is what he lives for, just seeing his guys go up and keep working on the process and get to the major leagues. Like he said, he actually keeps track of like exactly how many guys he has every year that make the big leagues. Like, I think he said he thought it was maybe 4 guys his first year and then this guy this year. And so we asked him a little about that. And, the tear Spencer Jones has been ongoing since he went up to AAA recently. And
he's had a hell of a run since he went up there. He's on another level right now, Spencer Jones.
Yeah, we'll get into this a little later, but Spencer Jones is a guy who's one of the Yankees prospects who's playing so well that you kind of wonder if he might be a guy that they might sell high on at the trade deadline. But yeah, I mean, and I guess the other big takeaway I had with Raul was just he mentioned that as far as the roster he has now, the team as constructed early in the second half here, which they're currently tied with Binghamton at 12-6 for first place in the Eastern League in the second half in the Northeast Division. He said he feels like there's similarities between the second half team this year and last year's second half team when they also won. Well, I shouldn't say also because they haven't won it this year yet, but last year they won the second half to make the playoffs. And this year they're trying to do the same thing because that's what they have to do in order to get into the playoffs. He said he feels like the guys are just starting to play together more. The clubhouse is more fun. They're making jokes during meetings a little bit. So we'll play a clip for you guys from that. Just the roster you have now and the way you guys are playing early in the second half as you try to get into the playoffs here.
Yeah, the roster is pretty good, but I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, you have a good players or you got players that need to keep learning, or old players or young players. You just right now feel like they start playing together more. Seems like the clubhouse is more fun. Like they kind of know each other a little bit more. And all the advanced meeting, they're making a lot of jokes. They're just trying to celebrate everything. And I mean, all the mistake or whatever they need to keep learning. I mean, we put it on the TV, the video, they start laughing. And I mean, they're learning together right now. And it seems like they're playing together. And that's what I think the result that we're getting on the field right now is just because we've been here for what, 3-4 months, and now finally, I mean, they connect, pitching, defense, offense, and that's why we're playing a good game right now.
And yeah, I mean, he said he feels like that this team definitely has a good chance to go to the playoffs again. So we'll see how things unfold here for the next month and a half, 2 months here, the rest of the season. But yeah, what were some of your other takeaways, Matt, from
Yeah,
Raul?
it seems like that's the rallying cry for the team is I think it's second half Pats. You see it on a lot of the players' social medias, you see it in the team game notes as like the headline second half Pats. And it's become like a rallying cry. They know that they've kind of come together and they're closer, a lot like the team did last year. And yeah, Raul, I found it interesting that Raul identified that like it's something that you could actually see the tide turning on, like it's something he can identify and tell that like the chemistry is different, the sense of togetherness and the just the overall level of play because of the team chemistry has been greatly elevated in the second half with a lot of the roster changes and a lot of the guys kind of coming into their own. um, the minor league rosters are always a fluid situation. You have guys coming and going on a almost weekly basis, and so the makeup of the team will always look vastly different in April than it ends up looking in June, July, August, and etc. So um,
Mhm.
it seems like they have the perfect mix right now. Guys that have been here, a couple guys that have even been here a little bit last year and have double A experience and were here for that run that they had in the second half last year to make the postseason. They needed every single win that they could get at the end of last year to make it in, and they went on a run and they got in. And so you still have some of those guys that were integral in that run last year, guys like Bailey Dees, who's now kind of gone into a bullpen role. Flores is still here. Hardman is still here. Guys that were all big parts of that team last year are still here. And now you have a new mix of
Right.
guys like Rock Reggio and Garrett Martin, who's new here this year, and just guys like that are playing every day. And it's a different guy every day that's contributing, but it just seems like they're all kind of playing for each other, and they're going behind this rally cry that I found it interesting too that we asked Raul about just the structure of the schedule and the way that the Eastern League schedules and breaks the schedule into two halves now. I think when you and I both started covering minor league baseball many moons ago, it was just a beginning to the end. Whoever had the best record made the playoffs. Um,
Right.
to where now you have a team that wins the first half, and then the standings get reset, and everybody goes back to a clean slate in the middle of June. And so if you have a terrible first half and you finish in last, you could wake up one day in June and you're back on even footing with everybody else. And I think
Yeah, it was in 2019, I believe, when they went to two halves, and Raul was saying that he and the players like that, being able to kind of, sort of hit the reset button a little bit in the second half of a season and
yeah,
just refresh. Yeah.
it's got to be a great tool for a manager, to motivate your team when Somerset wasn't playing necessarily the greatest, middling around third, fourth, fifth place in that first half, to just know that, hey, in a week I could tell these guys that we're back to zero now. It's a rallying cry. It's something we could get behind, and um, it's a great tool to have, as a manager, and it seems to be working right now. But I
Mhm.
found it interesting that not only did Raul like kind of identify the change in the clubhouse and the camaraderie, but I also talked to hitting coach Mike Francoso after the game for a feature story that I did on him, and he almost verbatim said the same exact thing as Raul.
Mhm.
He just identified that the way the offense is clicking right now, but as a team, he said they're winning games, and he could tell that at some point somewhere here in the middle of the season, heading into the All-Star break, that he could tell that this team is just playing for each other. They're playing together, and just the sense of unity as a club is one. They're all together. They're playing for each other, and I found it interesting that only the manager but the hitting coach both pretty much said the same exact thing unprompted. So I think there's something to that. There's a secret sauce going on right now with that club, and they have it going on, and they're winning games consistently now because of it.
Yeah, you mentioned a bunch of guys that they've got right now. And one other guy I wanted to throw in there was outfielder Brendan Jones, who's really started to pick it up with the bat. I mean, he was struggling a little bit when he came up here, but he's an outfielder with speed and a little bit of pop, and he's starting to show that now because he, in July here, he's hitting 324, he's
Yeah,
slugging 622. He's got, I believe, 30 stolen bases on the year between high A and double A. So he's one of my top guys to watch, I think, down
Yeah,
the stretch.
reigning player of the week. I mean, he's a guy definitely feels like he's turned a corner, and
Yeah.
I think we talked to him early on when he got up there, and we asked him. Obviously, the element of speed is his biggest asset. If he gets on base, he's almost an automatic stolen base, and it's just a matter of getting on base. And
Right.
early in his time in Double A, he was kind of struggling to get hits consistently and string good games together where he could actually utilize that speed. And a lot like Lagrange, where as time has gone on, he's kind of finding his footing. It seems like now, as the days have gone on since his promotion, Jones is also kind of figuring out the league a little bit, finding his footing here at another level, and you're kind of seeing the proof is in the pudding, and the results are finally starting to come for him.
Mm-hmm. And then another reinforcement I got recently was Elmer Rodriguez Cruz, the right-handed pitcher who got bumped up from high Hudson Valley. He's also one of the Yankees' top prospects. I believe I think he's in the top 5 to 10 on Pipeline right now. He was actually the pitcher the Yankees got when they traded Carlos Narvaez to the Red Sox, the catcher. Am I saying his name right? Carlos
Narvaez.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I would botch his name. But yeah, he's another really good pitcher they got in the system who's come up here. So it seems like whenever they lose one guy, they get another guy that comes up. I mean, obviously losing Spencer Jones hurt the lineup, but I think it helps that when you got the other Jones, the Brendan Jones, really picking it up, and who knows what else they'll get here because there's always guys that could get bumped up from lower levels, and with the trade deadline, they could be bringing in a prospect or two from another org.
You never know what happens this time of the year. Every day you show up to the ballpark, it's a fluid situation. You don't know. At any point, the phone could ring, and you're on hug watch, as they say. You're looking towards the dugout, seeing if anybody's getting hugs or being pulled out of the lineup. Or it's the most panicky time of the year for fans, for prospects, etc. When you get within 2 weeks of the deadline, the slightest thing that seems out of place, the ears immediately go up, and people automatically assume that there's something brewing.
Yeah. And then I guess the only guy on the roster who's on the 7-day IL and not like a 60-day full season type deal is Will Bryan, the left-handed reliever who I asked Raul about the other day, and he said he was a little tight with an injury, just needs a couple days. So maybe he gets activated this weekend. We're not entirely sure. He should be back soon. But the team is, always very tight with injuries. They don't usually disclose what type of injury a guy had, is currently dealing with. But I mean, it's a good sign that he really said he feels like he just needs a couple days here, and he's been a pretty solid reliever for them. And Somerset obviously needs good relief pitching because that's where they've lost a lot of games in the first half is from the bullpen,
right?
Blowing some games, unfortunately. So, trying to think anything else with Raul. I guess that's kind of the gist of it.
I think the only other nugget, not to spend a lot of time on, but I think you asked about Gomez on the development list, and Raul was kind of coy about what maybe was going on. He just didn't really say a lot more other than that he was just working on things down in Tampa as expected. The development list is kind of for a guy that's not playing a lot and not seeing regular playing time. There's you could put a player on the development list in the minor leagues, and usually it means they get sent to the team complex and they play in games, or they're working on specific things that a team wants them to improve on, where it's not necessarily putting pressure on them in a game setting or a competitive setting to kind of figure things out or work things out. So he threw that out there. He asked about him. We didn't get a whole lot from Raul, but I think just the next day that Brendan Cuddy of The Athletic had the scoop that he's no longer a catcher. He's made the conversion to a pitcher full time, and apparently
Antonio Gomez
got some good stuff on the hill. Apparently, so that's something to pay attention to here moving forward. I don't know if we eventually get him back in Double A, as a pitcher. I don't know I don't know what that transition even entails and how quickly that could be a thing. I would think maybe he gets into games maybe at low A or even high A. I don't know how quickly they'd think about moving him, but I think maybe eventually, maybe you see him at some point. I don't know if that's this year, but good for him for taking a crack at something new. And apparently he's hitting 100 miles an hour. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, you'll take that, right? I mean, you were just talking about Lagrange, and there's not a whole hell of a lot of guys that could regularly hit 100 in this system. And you got a guy behind the plate who's doing it. And they identified some traits that they liked. They liked the size, and he had a good idea about, I guess, what to do out there on the mound and how to attack it. And so now it's just harnessing that. Can he develop some command on some breaking pitches and secondary stuff? And it's kind of like a blank canvas. You go from there. But I found that pretty interesting. Of the few things we found out last week, I thought that was a pretty interesting development.
Yeah, Antonio Gomez, you just mentioned, he's a 23-year-old who's 6'2", 239, big frame
guy.
for a catcher. Yeah, and he's the Yankees. So they put him on the development list with Somerset back on June 18th, and essentially that means he went down to Tampa with the Yankees development team down there, and we thought maybe he was just working on some skills or something with his catching, and maybe he'd be coming back if the Yankees were to promote Flores to AAA, because they had with Gomez, they would have enough numbers at catcher to really to bump Flores up to AAA. Obviously, that's not happening because he's now being converted to a pitcher apparently, and I mean, hey, if the guy can throw 100, that's a pretty good reason to move him there, because you can never have enough arms, I feel like, in Norg when you just don't know when, like who and when is going to get hurt, right? But you just know the pitchers are going to get hurt at some point, and you always need a surplus of arms. And the Yankees have plenty of catching depth right now. I mean, like we talked about before, I mean, we don't even know for sure, if Flores is ever going to have a spot in the Yankees big league roster. So, I mean, it definitely makes sense to have that guy, have Gomez pitch if he's able to do that. And
in that piece that Brendan Goody had kind of down the transition, I mean, there's feedback and quotes in there from Sam Breen, the Yankees director of pitching development. I mean, you have people on the record saying that they think he can do this. Like they're the ones that kind of recommended it to him, and so they obviously identified something in him that they liked and they thought they could kind of mold. And I guess we're going to find out how honestly realistic that is. But they identified traits in him, and obviously the velo is a big one. But it's not just velo. There's outfielders out there that throw 100 to the plate regularly. It doesn't necessarily mean they can pitch.
Right.
So there's obviously some underlying traits and metrics and stuff like that Sam Breen and the rest of the Yankees pitching department have identified, and they're going to see what they can do with it. But I think I guess it's a worthwhile gamble. When you have a lot of catching depth, the Yankees are blessed with a lot of that at the moment, and have been for a while. They've been able to deal from that depth. So if you have a guy that maybe doesn't necessarily have a path that they think they could do something with, I think it's a worthwhile gamble.
Yeah. So just to kind of wrap up here for the last few minutes, I wanted to go a little bit into the trade deadline, because the MLB trade deadline is 2 weeks away. We probably will not be speaking to you guys again before then. Maybe not. We're not entirely sure, but
might have to get like an emergency pod if something like that happens. If we get a guy moved or something like that, we might have to have an emergency pod.
But I thought we could speculate a little bit on just kind of what the Yankees might do and some of these prospects we've seen who could be on the move. Obviously, the Yankees' biggest needs, I think it's not just me. It's pretty universally known at this point, anyone who really follows the team, that third base and relief pitcher are their top needs. They could maybe use another starting pitcher. You would think if Heel comes back healthy and Schlittler continues to pitch pretty well there, that they could probably get by without another starter. But they definitely need some reliever, at least one reliever, probably two. And third base to me is such an interesting situation, because anybody they bring in who can play the field well at third base and can hit for just a little bit of pop, and average 2 ideally, is going to be such a boost, because you look at just the replacement value of what they currently have. I mean, right now they're rolling out Oswald Peraza and Jorbit Vivas, basically, who are both hitting 149. They're getting just nothing out of that position, because they basically the Yankees didn't bring in a third baseman last offseason. They thought that DJ LeMahieu could possibly go back and play there this year. And it became clear this year that he was physically unable to do that. They tried moving Jazz Chisholm over to third base. And, he could play some serviceable third base, but he's just much better at second base, his natural spot. That's where he's an all-star. That's where he should be. And I look at the Yankees third base situation, and I think Eugenio Suarez is the guy that they should ideally get. Now, I know he's going to cost them a lot, and you look at it and you say he's an expiring deal, so like maybe he's possibly just a rental because you don't know if you'll be able to keep him. But I also think that that's nice in the sense that like it's a little bit of a trial run, right? He's not owed money over years. So if it doesn't work out, then you just let him walk and you didn't lose anything besides a prospect, or multiple prospects, which is not ideal, but it's better than losing prospects and having to keep a guy for, 2-3 years who is not going to work out in pinstripes. So, I mean, this guy's one of the top power hitters in the league right now this year. I mean, he's got an 889 OPS, 31 home runs, 18 doubles, 33-year-old with the Diamondbacks, who looks like the Diamondbacks are going to be sellers because they're not going to make the playoffs this year. You might have to give up you do have to give up at least one top prospect to get him. Maybe a guy like Spencer Jones, which I mean, honestly, I think I might do that because, the Yankees right now, their outfield situation, like they're still trying to find a way to get Jason Dominguez everyday at bats in their lineup. As good as Spencer Jones has played this year. I mean, you and I were talking the other day about like his numbers this year are eerily similar to a year that Joey Gallo had in minor leagues with a lot of strikeouts and power. And he's hitting for average this year too. And I'm not saying he's Joey Gallo, but it just goes to show that like a guy can go on a tear for a year in the minor leagues. And it's not necessarily indicative of the big leaguer he's going to be. And don't get me wrong. Like I love his tools. I think he's got a great mental makeup to be a big leaguer, but like you said last week at our last pod, I mean, all prospects are suspects until proven otherwise. And I mean, I think if you can get a guy like Suarez at third base, that's he's basically replacing nothing there right now. And to insert him into your lineup, middle of your lineup alongside Aaron Judge would give such a boost to the Yankees. It's not going to fully replace what you had with Juan Soto last year, but I just think the value you would get there for the rest of the season with him, even if he's just a rental, is so high that that would be the biggest guy I would target. But, we'll see if the Yankees can get him because we'll see what the asking price is. And, I'm sure other playoff teams want to get him as well, like the Cubs and teams like that. So
it's such a natural fit, the need is great and the player is great in this situation. And it's such a perfect marriage for the two of them to where you look at the trade deadline and you're like, if one thing's going to happen, this is the obvious marriage between player and club. But like you said, the Diamondbacks realize that too. They're going to deal from a position of leverage. I think there's no doubt at this point he's going to get moved, whether it's to the Yankees or another contending team, not sure. But I think the Yankees are obviously shopping in that part of the supermarket. They're looking for a substantial upgrade at third base. He's going to be the best one on the market. Hits for power. You'd be going to a smaller park. That power plays even more in Yankee Stadium than it is already. Plays good defense. And like you said, it's an absolute black hole right now at third base now. So pretty much adding anybody that's a league average or better player would be a massive upgrade for the Yankees. But if you could add a guy like Suarez to that lineup with Judge already, and then now Stanton seems to be heating up a little bit, and you have Dominguez, I mean, you really lengthen that lineup if you could add a bat like Suarez to it. It just comes down to, does Brian Cashman have the stomach to fork over the prospect capital that it's going to cost to get him? He met the media last week, and they asked him about the deadline and if he planned on being aggressive, and he said he planned on being very aggressive. And they asked if he had a stomach to kind of trade the upper echelon top prospects in the organization. And I think his quote was something to the effect of that they'd be willing to move prospects, but some are obviously more untouchable than others. And I would think that means like a guy like George Lombard, somebody like that, like maybe doesn't want to be tagged as untouchable, but it would be something highly unusual to move him, something that's really not on the radar or foreseen at the moment. You're probably not putting him on the table in many discussions in this deadline cycle. But yeah, I think a guy, if we're talking about offensive guys, I mean, Spencer Jones, I think has got to be on the table. Will it hurt? Sure. I mean, you don't ever want to move a guy like that, but
Yeah.
you only get so many cracks at this too, when you're in a situation where it's a down year for the American League, besides the Tigers, it's pretty much wide open in the American League. Prospects are cool, but parades are cooler. That's like the thing that everybody says. And if you trade a guy and he ends up having a good career, I don't think you regret it if you're able to get a title out of the couple months that you get the player for as a rental. And it would, like you said, just be such a massive upgrade for them that the juice might be worth the squeeze on a deal for him, depending on what it costs. Whether they're looking for a package of younger pitchers or a major league ready guy like Jones, I would think is on the borderline of being major league ready. He's a guy that could go play every day on a rebuilding club. He's not a guy you have to thrust into a lineup and put pressure to perform right away. If you're trading for him in a rebuild situation, he's a guy that's close to major league ready. It's not a guy that you're trading for in low A or high A. He's about ready. And I think that's something the Diamondbacks might have interest in. He's not a developmental guy. He's already, for the most part, developed into what he's going to be. I think they'd have some attractiveness. And these guys that we've just talked about, guys like Lagrange, guys like Elmer Rodriguez, and guys like Ben Hess, stuff like the Yankees have a lot of these high-end arms now that are starting to come close and get close to Double-A and have already moved up even to Triple-A. And guys like Schlittler, obviously, the Yankees need that guy, so you don't know that they're talking about packaging him right now. But there's these guys here in Double-A that are starting to perform well, and it's just a matter if the Yankees have the stomach to kind of part with some of them.
Yeah. Yeah, Diamondbacks are a good trade partner too because they've got some pitchers like Merritt Kelly and Zach Gallen, guys who have playoff experience too, who could be good additions. If the Yankees can kind of get them in a little bundle package with Suarez and package some prospects there. There's other third basemen out there, but like none of them really move the needle for me. Like we talked about, like they're getting like nothing out of the position right now. So like almost anybody is an upgrade if they can play third base, but. Like one other guy I know who's been thrown out there is Yoan Moncada with the Angels, and he was a top prospect years ago.
Yeah,
with
Boston.
Start with the Red Sox, right? And went to the White Sox. I think he had an All-Star year when he was about 24, going back like 5-6 years. But he's he's a decent player, and he's a guy you probably can get without trading like one of your upper echelon guys. But again, it's like anything else, right? Like you get what you pay for. So, the Yankees can get him for less, but I just don't think he's going to be that force in the middle of your lineup the way that Suarez would be. So,
yeah, he's not necessarily the proverbial needle mover. He's a guy you could put out there, but is he like awe-inspiring? Is he really changing the projected win total of the Yankees? I don't know. I don't know how much he moves the needle on there, but yeah, I mean, like you said, the gap to upgrade is not very large. It wouldn't take a huge addition to upgrade the position right now. And I just think that the Yankees, their mindset, I feel like should be to swing for the fences here. And that's a good point that you brought up. I mean, if you're going to part with a guy like a Spencer Jones or a Lagrange or somebody like that, one of these high ranking guys, you might be more talked into it or inclined to do it if you're getting a package like a Gallen or a Kelly. And if you could start the package with a Jones and then kind of go from there, knowing you're getting a almost Cy Young candidate obviously having a down year this year, Gallen, but he's a Cy Young caliber pitcher who's pitched in the World Series and he's battle tested, so you'd be getting an immediate upgrade in your rotation. You'd be getting a massive upgrade to your lineup and at the third base spot. I'd be, if I was Cashman, I'd be super inclined to talk package with Arizona. It just seems like the perfect fit for what they need right now.
Yeah. If I had to guess or just go with what I think is the guys they should prioritize keeping. I mean, I would trade Jones before Lombard. I think you probably would agree with that, right?
100%.
Because Lombard is a guy who I think just fits more into their future plans. Like he plays such a good shortstop. You don't know if Volpe's going to be able to really stick there long term. He's young. He's got so much development to do. I think that, yeah, I really see him being a long-term piece for the Yankees as of now. Assuming the bat comes along a little more. He's only 20 years old. And I think, yeah, you're going to have to, part some of his young pitching probably to swing a guy like Suarez or some other deals. But I would be hesitant to move a guy like Schlittler just because he is a guy I think that can help you right now this year. Some of their other younger prospects who are at least a year away, that makes more sense.
Or even a guy like Beck, Beck is up in AAA. He's performed well. He's an older guy. He's not as young as he doesn't have miles on the arm, but he's older in age, and he's absolutely shoved in Double. He's been really good in AAA. That's a guy that I think would have interest for a team like Arizona, who again almost major league ready. He's not necessarily too far away. I think he's also an attractive guy that the Yankees could dangle out there to fill some holes.
Yeah, but Spencer Jones, I just think is the biggest. Again, not that like you really want to move the guy because he's just playing so well this year, but it's hard to see his value ever being higher than it is right now, right? In terms of like he hasn't it's not like he's been in the major leagues and he's proven he can't play there or anything. He's having such a good year in the minor leagues right now that I don't know, it's just hard for me to ever see his value, his trade value, his age and everything, his production right now, that ever being higher. You know what I mean?
100%.
So, yeah, I think he's probably the biggest guy that's on the block if the Yankees really want to make a blockbuster type move. Again, there's no, Suarez is not a superstar. There's no real superstar out there, but he is an all-star player this year, and I think he's the biggest guy you could get out there. And I think just given, especially where the Yankees are at third base, it's not like, okay, they have a decent guy there, right? And then the replacement value is not super high. I mean, the replacement value is so high because they've literally got two guys hitting $149 at third base right now. So,
yeah, 100% agree with you.
So, but we'll see what the Yankees do. Let's wrap up here because we're coming up on an hour. It's been a good pod though, and we'll be back with you guys soon, and see what the Yankees end up doing at the trade deadline and how things kind of go with Somerset here after the All-Star break. They're going to be on the road this weekend in Hartford, next week in Erie, and then they won't be back. They'll be back home on July 29th for a series with Richmond. So we will be back there at some point to cover some of that. I know you're going to be going on vacation at the beginning of August, but we will be back covering the team at home soon and be back soon with more updates and another podcast. So I'll let you have some closing thoughts here, but I just wanted to thank everyone again for tuning in. Hope you guys are enjoying what we've had so far. And as always, continue to follow and like us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. So,
again, appreciate all the support that everybody's been sending our way on the pod and following us on Instagram and tagging us and stuff and shooting us a subscribe on YouTube. It all helps just to continue to get the word out there. A lot of people still don't even know that this is a thing. So any shares, any comments, any questions, it all helps kind of grow this. And at the end of the day, this is a tool to just inform everybody that's interested. That the Yankees are the most popular organization in sports, and we're live up close and personal talking to these guys that are the next generation of Yankees or major league players in general coming along. So we enjoy bringing to you what we're hearing, what we're seeing, kind of a little bit behind the scenes that you might not get on Twitter or might not get from your seat necessarily in the ballpark. So we're enjoying doing this. It's been fun to kind of get a feel and get in a groove in doing this pretty regularly. I think this is our 3rd and 4 weeks now. So we're going to continue to do them regularly or at least try to do them almost every week or every 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that. But as time permits, we'll keep doing them. And as long as you guys keep telling us you want them and keep showing interest, we'll continue to put them out there for us. But again, just appreciate all the support, all the love that's been thrown our way. It's been great. It's been a lot of fun. So like Greg said, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Pods, like us, give us a rating. Any kind of comments, suggestions, criticism, it all helps us improve it moving forward. And if you have any questions for Greg, myself, hopefully we'll have Mike back from his travels in the next episode. The three of us will be reunited, but our Twitter handles are all at the ticker on the bottom. If you have any questions or anything you want to see, anything you want to hear, anything you want to ask in upcoming episodes, just shoot us a line on there, and we'll be happy to kind of put it forth and bring it your way.
Yeah, and like Matt said, we're also on Instagram. So Patriots Press Pod is our Instagram handle. We often put out little like teasers or clips from our pods, so that's another good way to follow us and see some of our content. But yeah, thank you guys again, and we'll see you next time.